I'm Britt Clennett in Hong Kong and welcome to ViuTV News. Coming up on tonight's show. Indonesian President Joko Widodo and Hong Kong leader CY Leung pledged to boost cultural and economic ties. Huge groups of workers take to the streets calling for more rights and better working conditions on Labor Day. And Donald Trump calls the North Korean leader a smart cookie as he reaches out to other Asian leaders over Pyongyang's provocations. Indonesian President Joko Widodo said his country is highly committed to building closer ties with Hong Kong. On the second and last day of his visit, he was welcomed by Chief Executive CY Leung at a reception at Government House. There, the two leaders witnessed the signing of a memorandum that aims to promote cultural exchange, as well as a joint statement pledging to protect the domestic workers here in the city. The outgoing CE said Hong Kong will seek to strengthen its relationship with Indonesia and seize the many opportunities brought along by China's Belt and Road Initiative.
We're definitely enhancing our bilateral relations to our mutual benefits on all fronts and also on all levels.
Hong Kong is among Indonesia's most important partner, particularly in trade and investment. Indonesia is highly committed to elevate its relationship Hong Kong, and I hope that this cooperation can result in concrete benefit for Indonesia and Hong Kong.
Workers rejoice. The new minimum wage took effect today, putting the hourly pay rate up by $2. But labour unions say a lot more should be done to protect the city's underprivileged. The wage floor, now at $34.50 per hour, is reviewed every 2 years, a policy slammed by workers' rights groups. Federation of Trade Unions lawmaker Ho Kai Ming said it should be annual, pointing out civil servant salaries are adjusted at least once a year. And Labour Party chairwoman Suzanne Wu said the new pay rate is still quite low, with most private shopping malls paying more than $35 an hour.
Most workers who receive minimum wage are employees of the government and the Link REIT. They have the ability to offer better wages, yet they pay even less than privately owned shopping malls. As a taxpayer, I'm shocked to learn that corporations I'm helping to finance are the ones who exploit workers.
It's Labor Day and huge groups of workers took to the streets calling for more rights and better working conditions. In a protest staged by the Federation of Trade Unions, hundreds marched from Southern Playground in 1May to the government headquarters in Tamar. Scrapping the controversial MPF offset mechanism and increasing statutory holidays to 17 days topped their agenda. Meanwhile, members of the Confederation of Trade Unions also staged a rally. They criticised the outgoing government for implementing policies that only benefit businesses and failing promises, like introducing standard working hours. And slightly more mainland tourists are visiting Hong Kong during this year's Labor Day Golden Week, but retail sales might not be as positive. More than 380,000 mainland Chinese tourists have come to Hong Kong on the first 2 days of the holidays, a slight rise from the same time last year. But hopes of retail recovery this Golden Week may be dashed. That's after several shops in popular districts, including Tsim Sha Tsui, said they didn't see a boost in sales as tourists are buying less than they did before. And in other local news, the Civil Aviation Department says Hong Kong International Airport's controversial air traffic control system experienced a slight radio wave interruption yesterday afternoon. A spokesperson said the glitch did not affect flight operations, and the department has already informed the Communications Authority after detecting the interruption as part of procedure. An investigation is underway as to what caused it. The new 1.56 billion Hong Kong dollar system has been marred with controversy since it was installed earlier this year, with several glitches already being reported. Macau has banned the import and sale of all live poultry in an attempt to prevent an avian influenza outbreak. This comes after a ban on live poultry imports and the sale of live chickens was put in place since February. According to the government, the region recorded 5 outbreaks of avian influenza in poultry between February 2016 and February this year. During the same period, the city's first human infection from the virus was also reported. Well, US President Donald Trump has stepped up his outreach to allies in Asia in hope to secure their cooperation in pressuring North Korea over its nuclear and missile programs. Here's Sam Vadas with the details.
Donald Trump spending his weekend firming up support in Southeast Asia to rein in North Korea. The US president speaking to the leaders of Thailand and Singapore on Sunday in an effort to keep diplomatic and economic pressure on Pyongyang, just 2 days after what appears to be yet another failed missile test. In separate phone calls about the North's nuclear program, Trump also asked both prime ministers to visit Washington. That invitation was extended to Rodrigo Duterte on Saturday, despite the Philippines president being widely criticised by human rights groups for his war on drugs that's killed more than 8,000 people. The White House on Sunday defended Trump's decision to invite Duterte to Washington in what it describes as a very friendly phone call, saying Manila's cooperation was needed to counter the growing threat from the north. It comes as South Korea said the US had reaffirmed it would shoulder the cost of deploying THAAD, just days after Trump said Seoul should foot the bill for the anti-missile system. Trump has also spoken to China and Japan on the issue of North Korea, the White House saying it's making sure it has all its ducks in a row, so if any action is needed, everyone's on the same page.
Meantime, the US president said North Korea is why he isn't calling China a currency manipulator after saying he would during his election campaign. Speaking to CBS News, Trump said Beijing plays a crucial part in dealing with Pyongyang and that the issue is more important than trade. Trump also shared his views about the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un.
He was a young man of 26 or 27 when he took over from his father, when his father died. He's dealing with obviously very tough people, in particular the generals and others. And at a very young age, he was able to assume power. A lot of people, I'm sure, tried to take that power away, whether it was his uncle or anybody else. And he was able to do it. So obviously, he's a pretty smart cookie.
A San Diego pool party turned into a nightmare after a beer-drinking man opened fire at an apartment complex. The gunman wounded 8 people before he was shot dead by police. San Diego police said the man was holding a beer in one hand while shooting with the other. Several people have been hospitalized in a critical condition. Media reports say the shooting broke out at the La Jolla Crossroads Apartments in the University City section of San Diego. Police have yet to give a motive for the attack. At least 3 people have been killed by the storms hitting Arkansas. This includes a 10-year-old girl who was swept away by floodwaters. A similar situation in Missouri, where at least 2 people are believed to have been killed by the storms that have hit southern parts of the state, including the St. Louis area. Both the Arkansas and Missouri governors have declared a state of emergency. The Missouri governor warns the worst is not over yet.
The current river at Van Buren's highest recorded flood was 29 feet. We are anticipating 37 feet by Tuesday morning. That's why today I signed an executive order activating the National Guard and ordering that they be prepared to move hundreds, perhaps thousands of troops to assist in flood fighting operations across the state. These floods may well be deep and destructive.
Coming up next, the latest from the world of business. Several of Germany's top business executives signed cooperation agreements with Saudi authorities, pledging their intention to strengthen economic cooperation. The agreements come during German Chancellor Angela Merkel's visit to the country. German companies, including Siemens and SAP, were also among those called on by Saudi authorities to help further the kingdom's digital transformation. Saudi Arabia is hoping to diversify its economy, aiming to steer away from the country's reliance on oil. Siemens signed a framework agreement with a Saudi development body, which the German group claimed could lead to infrastructure projects worth at least €1 billion. In the latest of what's been called the Silicon Beach movement, the Venice Beach Freak Show is shutting down after 11 years of fun and laughs as tech company Snap takes over their building. Ben Gruber with that story.
Surrounded by her fellow freaks, the bearded lady ties the knot. But it's not all happily.